There are two common questions that come up throughout the term, and they are, what is my current grade? And by current grade, I mean based on all the work that's been done, but not all of it. So maybe you've had a few assignments, a term test, and maybe a second term test or another assignment. And so you've got some work, but not all of it. So you want to know, kind of based on all that, like, where am I at and how do I calculate that? And then the other, usually a little bit later in the term, it comes up once you've got most of the term work back, becomes, well, what do I need on the exam to get a specific outcome on the overall course? So what grade do I need on the exam? Let's say to meet some goal. So like on the final course grade goal. Okay, so what I'm looking to answer are these two questions. And really, this is because formally what your final grade is, it's a weighted average. So formally, the course grade is a weighted average. And that means that you don't just take your grade from all the work and take the average. That would only be true if everything was weighted equally. It tends to be that everything's weighted differently. And complicating that, typically, it's also scored out of some number. It could be, a test out of 12, but it's worth 15%, let's say. So it doesn't quite line up. So you've got to do some conversions. So we're going to take a look at what that looks like. And the easiest thing a lot of people would do is maybe do this in Excel, but you can't do that unless you know how to do it. So we're going to take a look at a simple example. Formally, the course grade is a weighted average. So what does that mean? Well, let's say that we have a course where the exam is worth 50%. That's quite a hefty amount. But this is going to be a simple case, and this happens quite often in upper year courses. So let's say you've got an exam with 50%, you've got a midterm test, so there's just one test, and that'll be worth like 30%. So, pretty heavy. Or maybe you've got two tests, each worth 15%, something like that, to spread it out a little bit more. And we'll just say we've got an assignment, maybe you've got a few, but for simplicity, just to illustrate the point, we'll have an assignment worth 20%. And so, you add all this up, and it's 100%. So total, of 100%. Now, there's a couple ways to think about this. You can go straight to the weighted average if you're comfortable with that. But, one way to think about it is, think of this as a total number of points. So this total of 100%, you can think of as a total number of points. And that total number of points is 100 points. And this basically becomes, it's like a bucket. You're trying to fill the bucket as much as possible. And there's 100 points possible. That's the size of the bucket. So if you get 80 points, you have 80% in the course. Or I guess that would be an A-. That's a very good grade. Okay, so what do we do? Well, what we're going to do is, we can think about this a little bit. We can write it out as, okay, I'm going to just write this out to say, well, if you're going to figure this out, you're going to say, well, my exam, I can think about it as being kind of out of 50. So I've got 50 points possible on the exam, and I'm going to add that to the midterm And there I've got a maximum of 30 possible points there. And we have an assignment. And that's got a maximum of 20 points, is all equal to 100. And this will be our final grade. Okay, so, right now, let's say you're at the point in the term where you've got a couple of marks back. You say, well, on my assignment, I got 15 out of 20, so that's 75%. Or on the midterm, I did pretty good on that. I got 25 out of 30. Okay. Well, what does that mean for my position in the course? Well, right now you've collected between these two 40 points. And 40 points, if that's all you got, let's say you didn't show up to the exam, you're like, I don't need to go. Well, in that case, you have 40 points over a total of 100, and that's 40%, so that's not good. But really, at that point in the course, you've only had an opportunity to get 50 points. So at that point, you've really got 40 out of 50 total that are possible at that moment. So you've got an 80% in the course at that moment. Just to clarify, these are the possible number of points at this point, at this time, just to try and be clear in the language. So possible number of points at this time, and 40 is how many you've collected, and so you've got 80%. Now that's half the course. So this course is structured so half's the exam, half is other stuff. All right, so if you're looking then at what you might get on the exam, how do you work that out? Well, you're gonna add some number here and see what it comes out to. And if you want to think about it, it's really you've got X out of 50. You don't know what you might get on the exam, plus 40 out of 50 points on all the other stuff, and that's going give you your final grade. And so your range here, like your final grade range is between 40%, and that's where X is equal to 0. You didn't go to the exam. And you have a maximum of 90%, because that's X is equal to 50 out of 50 on the exam. So 90% is the absolute maximum that you can get in the course if you've got 80% going into it, and half the course is the exam, half the course is other stuff. Now, of course, many courses are broken down in much more complicated ways, but this is fundamentally exactly how it works. You just have to have more categories, which is where something like an Excel spreadsheet, if it's got a lot of stuff, maybe that's the right way to go, or a little bit of code if you're so inclined. Now, there's a complication. And that is, most of the time, assessments are not scored to a total that matches their weight. So most of the time, assessments, and that's everything. This is problem sets, this is test, whatever. Assessments are scored out of kind of any number, and often that's not equal to the weight. So what do I mean? Well, let's just take a look at an example. So for example, midterm scored, out of 50, but worth 30%. So what do you do in that case? Well, the way you handle that is to say, well, you got 38 out of 50. That's 76%. And so that's, you were able to get 76% of the potential 30, or of the possible 30 points. And so you have been able to acquire 38 out of 50 times 30 available points. And so you have got yourself 22.8 points. Okay. And so we could say, and we could also say, that's pretty messy. Let's say the exam, say it's a bit longer, so let's say the exam is out of 70 and the assignment be a little smaller. So the assignment is out of 12. But of course, this is weighted 50% weight. The assignment was, I think it was at 20% weight. So we've got to modify ourselves just a little bit in our original equation. So to handle this, arbitrary, we can make a test, we can make a problem set, we can make anything out of any number we want. It doesn't matter. It could be out of 200. It could be out of 5. And we can make it weigh anything in the overall course grade. So the way we do this is, okay, so we've got our exam, and that's going to be out of 70. So you get whatever it is out of 70 times 50 points. I'll just say points to make it kind of clear. And next up, we've got a midterm, and that was out of 50, and it's worth 30%. So you can think of it as 30 points. We can think about it as okay. And then next we've got the assignment. A little worried about the room. I think we'll make it. And that was out of 12. And we got potential 20 points here. And that's all equal to, I think we made it, at 100 possible points. This is our final. Okay, so that's our calculation for kind of an arbitrary, like these numerators are what we're going to score. Our denominators are like whatever it's out of, and these are arbitrary. We could make stuff out of anything. It could be out of 20, it could be out of 13, doesn't matter. Okay. So I think on our midterm, what did we get? I don't know, 38? Something, it doesn't matter. Let's say we got 38. On our assignment, what did we score? 8. Let's see. Okay, we could have done better on that one, right? But it's worth less. It's only worth 20%. So, what does that give us? Well, how many points do we get here? I mean, you can just run this calculation, but let's do it step by step to be clear. Well, you got 13 1/3 of the possible points here and here. Put in the calculator. 38 divided by 50. 76% times your possible 30 points, 22.8. Okay, now let's talk about what this means for you in the course. At that point, you add these together, you have 36.13 points. Okay, so that's where you are in the course before the exam. Now, if you didn't go to the exam, as we said before, that would be your final grade. 36%, that's not good enough. We should probably show up to the exam. But, you know, what have you been able to do? What have you had the opportunity to do? Well, that's a maximum of 50 points. So this is the number of possible points so far. Right, that was 30 point possible, 20 points possible, gives you that 50 points that were possible. Okay, and so that means your current grade is basically 36 divided by 50, so 72. Okay, so is that the current grade? That's before the exam. So you're going in 72. Well, that's respectable. But hopefully, hey, look, you know, I want to do better. And so, you know, it's the same as before. We're just going to, when we think about what each question is worth, maybe we can think about it in terms of its impact. So we've got, it's out of 70. It's worth 50%. And we've already got 36.13 points, and that's where you're able to figure out your final course grade. Final total course grade. And you can kind of look at the range of what you might get. Let's say you study well, get a good night's rest, arrive clear-headed, a little bit of confidence in yourself, and getting, I don't know, 61. I don't know what that works out to. So if you get that 61 divided by 70, that was 87%. So you get a total of 43.5 possible points plus your existing 36 and a bit. So you end up with 80%. And of course you can work this backwards and say, well, what do I need to score whatever it is you're trying to get, and then go backwards from there. So let's say you want 85%. 80% wasn't quite good enough for you. So say you want 85%, or maybe you just want a B. You want 30. Figure 75% minimum that you'll be thrilled with. So you want 75%. So this becomes, let's put it in terms of points. So you want a total of 75. You've already got 36. So that means, so we go to our calculator, 75 minus 36, that's 39. So you need 39 points. So if you want to know out of the amount the exam will be scored out of, x over 70 times 50, it's got to then be equal to 39. Well, then what's x? Well, x is equal to 70 over 50. 39. Let's find out. 7 divided by 5 times 39. 54.6. So you want better than 55 out of 70 to get course grade above 75%. All right, so that's working through how to determine what you currently have in a course and what you could end up with based on exam performance.